Well, here we go. Sorry for the dead air there. Why the hell am I doing this live? Because I feel like it. So I just got through reminding myself about people like potential history. I forgot this nigga existed. I'll be honest with you. I forgot this nigga existed 100,000%. Thing is there's a lot of folks like potential history. You have Odysee as well. Um, Other commentators who are like, "Heh, Veraboos, they're everywhere." And I know I've done a video about this, but I think there's a larger context to speak of. There's a larger context where they will try to be as unbiased as possible about history. But the thing is, though, they ultimately will not talk about, what the U.S. did to, civilians. um, they will not talk about Biscari. They won't talk about any of these other aspects. But more importantly, they don't want to talk about today. They're so worried about this, about Veraboos and all this sort of thing. And to me, I've said it before and I'll say it again, they don't really exist. I don't think Veraboos exist in real life. Yeah, boomers will talk about it occasionally, but in general, I really don't think they exist. But furthermore, is they don't want to talk about the present day. Atun Shea will go on and on talking about, the Civil War, will go on and on talking about, conspiracy theories and all this sort of thing. But when it comes to the modern day, they don't want to talk about it. Anti-Wignet types are pro-Dresden, ironically. Yeah, that's true. The thing is that, number one, those events, regardless of what you want to say, yeah, history happened. And yeah, the the German Workers' Party, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party, lost. Yeah, Imperial Japan lost. But is it the same type of loss? Well, not necessarily. Overall, Japan did have some trials, did have a couple trials, same way as Nuremberg happened, but in general, it was a much different type of thing where Germany um, basically just sold itself out and became a puppet of the United States. Whereas Japan today is still allowed to have, like, we didn't do anything bad in the Second World War. Who cares? Yeah, heck with those Chinese and all that sort of thing. It's not my opinion. That's Japanese. I want to make sure. And it was the way that they were treated. Now, of course, by all means, the Japanese and Germans are both puppets of the United States, arguably. Germany more so. Japan, I think to a point is trying to. It's going all right, Jake English. I think to a point is a little bit different, but I think, like I said, they don't want to talk about the modern day. They will say, "Well, Russia this, Russia that." They won't even say Russia today. This is the whole type of thing of fighting. Uh, you know, different groups. This and that. Would they ever prefer? Would they ever do a video, for example, on the Syrian war? I don't think they would. I don't think they have the cojones to do that because they know that they would get slaughtered in comments, wouldn't they? I mean, if they ever talked about the effectiveness of the Syrian Arab Army or Hezbollah compared to Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or the Free Syrian Army or whatever LARC group is there, they don't want to do that. They don't want to because they know better. Um, so this is why, to a point, I don't really care about these folks who make these Veraboo video type of shit, acting like, oh my gosh, they did this, they did that, or whatever the case may be. And it's one of those things that you really have to, struggle to try to figure out what they actually mean. You know, at least that's my take on it anyway. I really don't, you know, understand these types of things. I'm honestly just rambling at this point. But it's funny when you see people like potential history of these folks that are so anti-wehraboo, something that really does not exist. I'm sorry, it doesn't really exist. Yeah, white supremacy scare is getting really annoying. Absolutely, I thought white folks were dying off. I thought white people were dying off. Now, of course, yeah, Japan still has a non-civic Japanese identity, even though the levels of degeneracy are high. Germany is starting to be similar to American. Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, Germany, like I say, even though they have similar camouflage, and I think that camouflage is being changed from the old Waffen SS patterns, like the I can't think of the names, but those like the oak leaf pattern and whatnot. I think that's slowly changing, even with the MG3, of course, which is an MG42. They got rid of that, but you see a Germany in general that just really cannot stand on its own 2 feet, in my opinion. Anyway, in the modern day, the corruption, the just this sense of, I think, deep down hatred of it all. Like I say, it's a whole different thing. I mean, if you're in Germany or you are German, it's a whole different thing, I imagine, than my ridiculous stuff. Italy, that's a good question. That's a good point. Italy has been through numerous governments. Um, yeah, you can talk about Casa Pound. You could talk about Nasmau as well. Um, but overall, these were, like I say, in general, I think Italy, I think, is somewhat looser. I think as well, talking about fascism, this and that, but I think it's a different sort of thing. I'm not really sure, honestly, about Japan. I mean, Italy, Italia, but I think Italy's, I think, somewhat got off as well. You know, like yeah, Gentile, died. Not too. I mean, I think he died within that Italian Republic or whatever, Socialist Republic. I mean, same thing with Mussolini, of course, being hanged and all the pictures they show of that. But that's nothing new. Just edgy MLs who want to talk about that. But the thing is, I mean, what do we do now today? Um, People would prefer to talk. I mean, this is why boomers prefer to talk about World War II. And I look on my shelf and I see plenty of books on World War II specifically. I do realize that, but they'd rather talk about that than talk about, I don't know, Alexander the Great, or talk about the Roman Empire or something else. But the thing is, it's just a way to gatekeep, and it's a way to make yourself look cool. Huh? Oh, okay. Okay. Compared to everybody else, right? It's all about making yourself look cool, and everybody else look like they're dumb and stupid. I get it. I do. And if you want to flex on people, go for it. But the thing is, though, people just don't want to talk about the modern day. They don't want to. They don't want to talk about the issues of Russia. They don't want to talk about, the effectiveness, sorry, of the United States military today. And the fact is that the United States military, continues to have purges, different sort of purge. It was actually part of the anti-war faction. Oh, really? Really? Huh. Interesting. But where is I going with this? I think that there are a lot more bigger issues today. Now, of course, like I say, there are plenty of those, I'm sure, anti-wehraboo types who are equally anti-China boo as well, where they're like, well, China just copies stuff. Russia after Putin is going to be interesting. Yeah, it will. It will be very interesting to say the least. I mean, Zhirinovsky is pretty old, so I don't think, some sort of we're going to nuke the US sort of guy is going to come about. I don't know. It's a good question. But, say what you will about China, but I think that China still has flamethrowers, whereas we don't. To me, I think it's silly. Yes.
Two Red Baron pizzas you got? Can you put those in as soon as you're done there?
Yeah, sure.
We're having them.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's two of them.
Yep. Cook them separately. Yep. All right. Well, I guess I'll wrap this video up. Yep, I will. What I was. Yeah. Go on then. I guess I'll finish it up with this, which is there are massive geopolitical storms that are on the horizon that many people refuse to talk about. And there's a real question, obviously, even after January 6th, of where is the loyalty going to be? Now, of course, there are there is something similar to the political commissar coming in the United States military, where basically it's this sort of, you need to remember the Constitution. You need to, yeah. China is very pragmatic. It's fascinating, scary at the same time. They've almost perfected statecraft. Yeah, oh, I agree. What I was gonna say though is, uh, there's a lot of this. You need to obey the Constitution. We need to teach you about American history, sort of stuff, to promote this sort of Americanism. Now, of course, what Americanism means today is a whole different type of thing. So there's a lot of question about how effective the U.S. military as a whole is, and about whether or not, like I say, there are a lot of folks, like I say, who are on that sort of collapsitarian side of things, where they're like, yeah, the National Guard's going to break off and sell us some M1 Abrams or something. I don't know about all that, but there's a lot of talk about that. So there are much bigger issues at hand to look at, and I think a lot of folks just don't want to. At least, in my opinion. You know, that's my view anyway. Yeah. I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up with this. Sorry for all the dead air, folks, but yeah, I do have to get some pizzas done and all that. Gotta get them start cooking. So I'll go ahead and wrap this up here. I hope y'all enjoyed this brief stream. Like I say, I'll be working and everything. So let's get to it. All right. So see you later. A goodbye.